If you're somebody who wants to change your life for the better, this video is for you. Pay attention. Now, everyone's talking about New Year's resolutions, new year, new me. We live in a society right now that is highly driven by goals, achievement, accolades. Social media just exacerbates this desire inside of all of us to be successful, right? So we see what successful people are doing, wealthy people. We see people who have large followings, large amounts of influence online and what they have. And so if we're somebody that wants to improve the quality of our lives, we think that we need to start acquiring those things, that we want to move towards that place, right? But in all actuality, a lot of times, for those of you watching this who want to change, it's better to start off by eliminating things. Yeah, you want to incorporate new habits. You want to go to the gym. You want to work out. You want to read. You want to network. You want to do these things. But if you're not making space to evolve who you are by eliminating stuff that is going to hold you back, you're never going to be able to move into that person's space, right? Embrace that person's way of living, embody that identity. Does that make sense? So like if you're smoking, if you're drinking, if you're going out on Friday nights and partying, if you're still abusing food, if you have certain things like friend groups, toxic relationships, if you have things that you know are going to hold you back, oftentimes you need to focus on cutting that stuff out of your life before you could free up the energy and like really develop the mindset to be able to go and incorporate these new things into your life. And really like your energy down to a frequency, like an energetic level in your being, right? It gets tapped out and it gets bogged down when you have negative people, negative things in your life that are suppressing your potential. So if you're hanging around those same friends from high school and you're talking about the same bullshit, or you have family members who are toxic, or every Friday night you're still going out and drinking and just partying and checking out the whole weekend, sitting around watching football and movies and eating like crap, like you're still creating this negative internal state that's gonna suppress your potential. And man, I can't express how important this is. I remember when I was incarcerated, I had been living with so much baggage. For about 10 years of my life, I was just walking around as a broken individual. I had so much trauma, anger, resentment, so much emotion that I had bottled up and suppressed. And just because I suppressed it didn't mean that it just disappeared and no one knew what was happening. Like it was very evident that I was a distraught young person. I wasn't happy. I wasn't living my potential. And so when this takes place, we're consumed with this negative energy. We're consumed by these traumatic life events. We're consumed by this pain, this hurt. These things still stay within us and they hold us back from becoming the people that we want to be. And when you're experiencing this, like when you have trauma that's suppressed, bad habits, negative thinking, toxic relationships, you aren't able to tap into your higher faculties, meaning like that clarity, that inspiration, that internal drive, that desire, that love, that gratitude for life. You're not able to tap in to those higher faculties, as Napoleon Hill describes in Think and Grow Rich. He describes this process where you're able to tap into these higher faculties and they help you to really manifest your dream life, right? So to speak. But if you're not able to work through your trauma, if you're not able to let go of pain and resentments, if you're not able to discard, certain things in your life, you're not going to free up space internally to really evolve into that person and to embody that new identity. And I remember when I was in jail, I had been living this way for so long, just so upset, so lost, so hopeless. And I remember just sitting in jail and I was facing a life sentence. And I knew that I was up against such a massive challenge. Like this challenge was the biggest challenge and obstacle that you could ever imagine. Life in prison means you're done. Like if you don't succeed, your life is over. That's really what it felt like. Like if you don't persevere, your life is over. And so I remember, because that challenge was so monumental, I had a conversation with myself and it was like, man, you got to let go of the stuff in the past. Like you can't continue to carry this anger and pain around with you. Look at this massive challenge that's looming over you. Look at all these obstacles in front of you. Like how are you ever going to navigate this scenario and situation if you can't let go of that stuff? It was like being an individual in the ocean trying to swim. Maybe you got thrown off a boat, right? Boat capsized. You're swimming in the ocean trying to swim towards land, but you got an anchor that's attached around your ankle and you're just treading water. You're barely keeping your head above water. Like that's what I felt like most of my life. So in that moment, I remember I realized I had to forgive my parents. I had to let go of all the pain and anger and shame that they had caused me, that I had allowed those situations to cause me, and I had allowed those situations to affect me that way, but I had to let it all go. I had to let it go. And I did. In that cell, I remember I wrote letters of forgiveness to my parents. I told them I loved them. It wasn't their fault that I was in jail. I made bad choices, and I was going to change my life, and I was going to make them proud. And initially I did it as well because I didn't want them to self-inflict further. I didn't want them to overdose or die while I was in prison because they felt bad or guilty about the path that I had went down in life, because their influence directly affected me. But I still made the decisions, and I still was in control of my life. And so I remember when I went through that process, I cried, I wrote these letters, I just sat in silence. There was no phone, no TV, nobody to talk to. It was just my own internal dialogue. And internally, like my spirit, something started changing, something started shifting, as if my spirit had been hibernating for all those years. It was just so suppressed. There was so much trauma, so much emotion, so much anger, so much guilt, so much shame stacked up on top of like my essence, my potential, man, that it was buried deep inside of me. And when this happened, I felt like I purged all that emotion out of me. All of that negativity, all of those years of suppressed emotions and trauma and all of that stuff that had held me back from being the person I wanted to be. I felt like I just, in a cathartic moment, just released it all. And from that point forward, I started to feel in ways I never had in my life. I started to get this clarity, these creative ideas, these thoughts, these visions. I never felt that in my life. It was like being on ecstasy, cocaine, and mushrooms all at the same time, but it was so pure. Like, I don't know how to describe it. I wasn't hallucinating. I wasn't on any substance or any drugs. I was just so tapped in on a spiritual level, and I was getting these visions and these ideas and this truth about who I wanted to be. And I felt this love and this peace and this gratitude inside me swelling, So it was like that void inside of me that now was created by me releasing the trauma and the negativity and all that stuff. I was able to then fill it with the right energies. I was able to elevate my internal state and frequency to a place of love and gratitude. And I saw the good in the world. I felt the good in myself and my life. And I had this inner peace. And I experienced all this in a jail cell. And I could not believe it. I couldn't believe I was able to feel that way. And so my sole purpose from that moment forward became to keep that energy alive, to continue to feel that way, to live as that person every day. And so long before I had a business, long before I used a phone and social media to share my story, long before I even got out of prison, for 5.5 years, my daily process was to keep that energy and feeling alive by any means necessary. That meant I would never go backwards. I would never do things that made me feel shameful. I would never use drugs again. I would never, hang out with toxic people. I would never talk negatively. I stopped cussing, and instead I replaced all of those habits and ways of living with reading books, educating myself, writing, exercise, manifestation, meaning like visualization, meditation, prayer, becoming a spiritual being and really a vessel for God's message in this world. And so every day that was my purpose, and things have progressively gotten better for me. I mean, immensely better. I not only got out of prison with a vision and a purpose, but I've been able to bring that vision to life. I have my beautiful wife and children. I get to travel all over and build relationships with people, change lives, speak on stages. I have a successful coaching program that helps men all over the country. It's incredible. This new path continues to emerge in front of me as I focus on doing the right thing every day. Keeping that energy alive by any means necessary, continuing to cultivate and tap in and keep that energy alive, and then share it with the world, share it with everybody that I come into contact with. So if you watch this video all the way through, the main thing that I want to stress to you is if you want to achieve a life of greatness, you want to have success, whatever it is, you want to make money, you want to build a business, you want to have flourishing relationships, you got to work on yourself first. There's stuff that could potentially be holding you back, whether it's trauma from the past, resentments, anger, shame, guilt. Like, you have to learn how to forgive and let go of those things before you can create space internally to evolve yourself, to think this way, to feel this way. Then you go out into the world as that person, and those new results, those new relationships, those new opportunities will gravitate towards you because you've changed. Like, you're putting off a different frequency. And there's a book that I highly suggest you read that will help you to really understand this concept in more detail. And it perfectly depicts and describes everything that I went through in prison, the entire transformation that I just shared with you guys. It's called Letting Go by David R. Hawkins. Letting Go is one of the best books I've ever read in my life. I'll post the link below. You got to read this book and you got to make these changes for yourself because you get one life. This journey is precious. People need you. People desperately need to be inspired, to see an example, and you deserve to live a life of internal peace, love, and harmony so that you can share that with your loved ones, share that with the world, and just go through every day literally loving your life and not needing to escape, not being angry, and not wasting your life in this low, vibrational state. So get that book, Letting Go by David R. Hawkins. Drop in the comments below any takeaways you had from this video. I love you guys. Let's make this an amazing week.